Can I have nominations for Chairman of the Maldon District Council, please? Councillor Stamp.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to thank you for all your hard work, as I'm sure everybody else in the Council chamber appreciates everything you've done. You will be sorely missed, even though we all have our disagreements with you, Chairman. But I would like to nominate, he's gone. No, Councillor Kevin Lagan as Chairman, please.
Is that seconded? Thank you very much. Councillor Stilts. Is there any other nominations? I therefore declare Councillor Lagan as Chairman of the Maldon District Council. There you go.
That's very kind of you, Bob. Thanks.
There you go, Chairman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, as well. It's very kind. Oh, I've got to sign the document. I can't get it read, can I? Do you want to read this out?
You can.
I think, first of all and foremost, I echo everything Councillor Stamp has said, and I'd like to honour Councillor Boyce and especially Councillor Nunn for all the work and commitment they've given to the community over the recent decades. It certainly is an honour to be here, being born from this town. My late mother would have never believed it, and she probably would have smacked me for being so daft. But it is an absolute honour, so thank you very much. What I'm doing here is I'm signing a declaration of acceptance of office, and I will read it out for new members because it's obviously foreign to you. It says, I, Kevin Lagan, having been elected to the office of Chairman of the Council of the District of Maldon, declare that I take the office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe the Code of Conduct as to the conduct which is expected of members of Maldon District Council. So that's the 18th of the 5th, 2023. Thank you, Simon. Mr. Quelch. Okay, so that was done. Okay, we move on to the agenda, members.
Chairman, can you straighten your badge, please?
I didn't put it on.
No, can you straighten it? It's really, thank you.
Is that okay?
Sorry, Chairman.
Take a name. Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Stamp. We move on to the agenda members. And first agenda item is Chairman's notices. There are just a few housekeeping issues to run through. Members, we are streaming this meeting live as well as recording, and by being present in the meeting, you're giving your consent to being recorded. During each item, please put your hand up to indicate if you wish to speak. I will then invite you at the appropriate time. Please note that the YouTube live stream sound recording is dependent on the correct use of microphones. Therefore, can I ask that when invited to speak, you remember to turn on your microphone and turn it off when finished. Please reference a page or paragraph number when referring to the agenda papers and keep your contributions as clear and concise as possible. And members, for this evening's meeting, the Rules of Procedure Part 4, Rule 8, Subsection 3, the requirement to stand when addressing the chair, it will be optional. So if you care to sit, you're more than welcome, but if you do wish to stand, you can do that as well. So thank you. Agenda item number 4 is appointment of Vice Chairman. I propose from the chair to defer this meeting. Do I have this position? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Stilts. Thank you. Does everybody agree? Thank you, members. So we don't need to move on to agenda item 5, members. On to agenda item 6, which is apologies for absence. Bernard, have we any apologies for absence, please?
Yes, Chairman. I believe we've received apologies from Councillor White.
Thank you very much indeed, Bernard. Okay, we move on to agenda item 7, which is disclosure of interest. It's to disclose the existence and nature of any disclosable pecuniary interests, other registrable interests and non-registrable interests relating to the items of business on the agenda, having regard to paragraph 9 and appendix B of the Code of Conduct for members. Members are reminded that they are also to declare any such interest as soon as they become aware as and throughout the meeting. Thank you. Members, we move on to agenda item 8, which is the minutes of the meeting held on the 30th of March 2023. It is recommended that the minutes of the meeting held on the 30th of March 2023, which are found on pages 7 to 18 of your agenda pack, are approved as a true and accurate record, subject to the following minor amendment. It's minute 12, and it's the update on the customer service strategy and One Maldon District Community Hub. The second sentence of the first bullet point under paragraph 4 of this minute should be amended as follows. Some members express concern that is being replaced with some members express concern regarding this. If any measure, I so move. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Stamp. Okay, can we agree those minutes by assent, members? Agreed? Thank you very much indeed. On to agenda item number 9, which is public questions, and there are none received this evening. We move to agenda item 10, which is Chairman's announcements. Members, due to ongoing discussions, I propose that the following items of business are deferred to an extraordinary meeting of the Council, which is now confirmed for Thursday, the 8th of June 2023. Item 13, leaders and compositions of political groups. Councillor Stamp, thank you.
Yes, Chairman. I don't know if this is the best time to speak or you're going to stop me, which I suppose I'm going to get used to. I'd like to read something out because I think it's very serious what you've just done. You've stopped what we would normally do at statutory annual meeting. So I'd like to read this. In the best interest of our residents and for the 15,709 people who took the time and trouble to vote for 31 members of this council, would 15 members join me right now to form an administration, or do you want to leave the council in limbo at such an important time? The residents should know group leaders have had more than enough time before tonight with no agreement, no agreed partnership working. Leave it for another 2 weeks or not? Does it mean that agreement will be made, Chairman? It's absolutely disgraceful. Egos, party politics and spin cannot be put aside and replaced with cooperation and compromise. After all, that is what residents voted for. Councillors to represent them, work hard and deliver the best services for them and not ourselves, Chairman. I feel sorry for some of the new members. I bet they're wondering what the heck they have signed up for. I'm pretty robust and I'm absolutely worn out and disgusted. 31 members from this administration cannot form an actual working corporation administration. The people we are letting down, Chairman, is all our residents. So I urge you in the name of democracy to support this idea to form an administration. Chairman, can I have a show of hands, please? It's a sad day for democracy, what's happening at this council. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Stamp. Well, in the light of Councillor Stamp's statement, I'll put it to the Chamber. Is there a show of hands to form an administration this evening?
Is that recorded, please?
Just bear with me one moment, please.
I can have a recorded vote.
What is the net effect of that? It doesn't at all. So I just won't take it.
Well, they won't, they can't.
People can express their agreement
They're all with.
council. I don't think the resolution has any substance.
Okay, well, members, I've just taken some advice from Mr. Quelch, and I think that although we can actually register our agreement with Councillor Stamp, I think we will not take that forward at this moment in time and stick to what the announcements actually say. Councillor Fluker.
Chairman, I think it's really important that you use this meeting this evening to at least give a clear timeline as to where we're going with this. I hear today that there is a meeting on the 8th of June, Chairman, but you know, I've said it before and I've said it elsewhere. This council's looking at a deficit of £800,000 this year. By the time we get to the 8th of June, £68,000 would have been taken out of reserves to prop up this council and its working. Chairman, that's taxpayers' money. It's unacceptable. This situation has to change, and it has to change quick. And I'm sorry, but you know, I've not been privy to any notes or any information that's come out of these meetings between the leaders, and nothing I've seen so far has convinced me that the situation will be any different, Chairman, on the 8th of June. But Chairman, I am heartened by one thing, and I found out tonight that the Tory party, who refused to try and form an administration, their membership has now gone from 10 to 7. And I hope that that opens the door for some well-rounded interaction between the other 24 members, if I've got it right. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fuqua. I'll just make a comment on something you did say. The meetings between the leaders were informal meetings, and there were no minutes taken to distribute round. Whether the leaders of the groups decide that that's something that they would like to do, that's down to them at the next time that they meet. But I thank you for that. So, so I'll carry on. We got to item 14. This is to do with deferrals. Item 14, appointment of the membership of appointing committees of the council with the exception of licensing, district planning and area planning committees. Item 15 in the agenda, adjournment of meeting for special meetings of committees. Item 18, appointment of representatives to local government and outside bodies. Item 19, appointment of members to serve on working groups of the council. I so move. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Siddle. Thank you, Councillor Siddle. Members, do we need to vote on this? Are we in agreement with this? Agreed. Thank you. Agreed by assent, Cara. Thank you very much. Now we come to a rather pleasant part of the proceedings this evening. I'd like to invite up to the front table Councillor Stephen Nunn, please. Stephen's going to present some member long service awards. So Councillor Nunn, would you care to come to the front?
Thank you very much, Chairman, and congratulations on your appointment.
Thank you,
Kind of
Councillor.
you to call me Councillor, but I'm not.
Freudian slip, Mr. Nunn. That's it.
I'll do it from here if it's all right. You, please.
Absolutely, feel free.
So, on behalf of Maldon District Council, its officers and its members past and present, it gives me great pleasure to present some long service certificates to outgoing members. And you might wonder why I'm doing this. That's because the first certificate is to ex-councillor Bob Willis.
Sorry, Councillor.
Old councillor. So, long service certificate, Bob. Congratulations. Very well. Don't sit down yet, Bob. In addition, again, gives me great pleasure to present to you, Bob, the past chairman's badge.
Oh, thank you very much. Is it Mr. Nunn? Yeah,
You can call me Mr. Nunn if you want, yes.
Thank you.
The next long service certificate I'm very pleased to present is to Mr. Richard Dewey.
Can I just say that 32 years ago, I was still recovering from the shock of actually being elected. I never expected to be here this long. Thank you very much.
We've got two other certificates here, but unfortunately the people in question aren't present. So there's one for Penny Channer and there's another one for Brian Beale. But I'm sure that Bob will make arrangements to...
There's nothing to do with it. Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, we'll thank you, Mr. Nunn. We'll make arrangements.
So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nunn.
Thank you, Mr. Nunn.
Okay, members, and once again, thank you, Stephen. We move on to agenda item 11, which is minutes of meetings of the council. And it's to note that since the last meeting of the council and up until Wednesday, the 10th of May 2023, council agenda dispatch, the committees listed have met to receive any questions in accordance with council and committee procedure rule 6.2. If any member wishes to raise a question in relation to the minutes of this meeting, please make this known. Okay. Members, are you happy to note those minutes? Thank you, members. We move on to agenda item 12, members, which is questions in accordance with Procedure Rule 6.2, of which notice has been given, of which there are none. We move to agenda item 13, leaders and compositions of political groups. This is to be deferred. Agenda item 14, which is appointment of memberships of committees of the council. We're deferred with the exception of the licensing, district planning and area planning committees. Okay. I'm there to, we move to agenda 14, appoint a membership of the committees of the council, which was circulated today and found in the supplementary pack on pages 3 to 10. There are some recommendations which I am to propose, and they are 3 recommendations. Recommendation 1, that the member nominations set out in Appendix A be approved. Appendix recommended little Roman 2, that the non-aligned member is appointed to sit on the licensing committee as set out on Appendix A. And little Roman 3, that members note the chairperson's job description in Appendix B ahead of appointments to chairpersons of these committees. I so move. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Stilts, thank you. Any members wish to speak?
Chairman, just say, in terms of the licensing committee, Councillor Labour has stood down.
Can you just, sorry, you put the microphone to the burn.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. With regards to the licensing committee, Councillor Labour has stood down from that and I've taken the place.
Okay. Yep, thank you very much indeed, Councillor Morgan. There are 3 non-aligned councillors. We have Councillor Bell, Councillor Lay and Councillor Siddle Norman. We need to take a vote by a show of hands for, against or abstain, or agree by assent, unless the non-aligned members have come to an arrangement themselves about which to stand. Councillor Lay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The 3 members of the non-aligned party have agreed. The group have agreed. The 3 non-aligned have agreed that is this in relation to the licensing?
Yes.
That my name will be put forward.
Lovely.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed. So we'll take a vote of a show of hands on this, for, against or abstain. For Councillor Lay. For. That seems to be overwhelming support, so thank you very much indeed, members. So that's Councillor Lay is appointed to licensing. We move to agenda item 15, adjournment of meeting. That's been deferred. Agenda item 16, which would have been the resumption of business, that's been deferred. Now, members, we move on to agenda item 17, which is the 5-year housing land supply. We move to agenda item 17, 5-year housing land supply, which is found on pages 19 to 36. The Chairman of the Council is to present the report, and I will move the recommendations in the report as below. We have 2 recommendations. The recommendations are, recommendation 1, that the briefing paper appended to this report at Appendix A and its accompanying spreadsheets provides evidence that the Council can demonstrate a supply of specific deliverable sites sufficient to provide for 6.35 years worth of housing against the Council's identified housing requirements. And recommendation 2, that the 5-year housing land supply position be approved and published on the Council's website. I so move. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Stamp, thank you. Any members wish to speak? Councillor Fluker, please.
I mean, look, this is exceptionally good news, Chairman, exceptionally good news, and it's going to stop speculative applications coming to this planning authority, which I take a lot of comfort in because my own ward is particularly at attack at the moment. But Chairman, I appreciate that things changed last July in the methodology of how we actually approach this. But I still find it really, really difficult to understand how we went from, at the worst, which was about 2.88 to 6.12 or whatever it is at the moment. Chairman, what concerns me enormously is that during that period, there were lots of speculative developments that came forward which were approved on the basis that this local authority said it didn't have a 5-year housing land supply. And even though I've read that report, I do think, Chairman, that it should be scrutinised elsewhere to make sure that we did get it right. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Fluker, and I'm in full agreement with what you said there. Any other members wish to speak? Okay, members, so we need to take a show of hands, for, against, or abstain, or do we agree by assent? Agreed, everybody agreed? No, perfect. Thank you very much indeed. That's unanimously supported. Agenda item 18, appointments of representatives to local government and outside bodies, is deferred. Agenda item 19, appointment of members to serve on working groups, is deferred. Agenda item 20, this is the annual report of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, which is found on pages 37 to 42. I now call on Councillor Paula Spenceley to present the report. Councillor Spenceley.
Thank you, Chair. Members, I have the report here before me that's in your pack. I'm going to just highlight some little bits from it rather than go through the whole thing and bore everybody to death. So, Councillor Helm was obviously our chairman last year, and I served as the vice chair under him. So, I'm going to go through the updates after I've said what the item is. The Parks team culture and health and safety concerns was something that had been brought forward to the committee from when Councillor Bell was chair. The update on that is that the working group received an update report in August 2022 and agreed that the issues having been highlighted had largely been resolved. Looking at what we've just been talking about there, the 5-year land supply, we had an item before us looking at a potential lack of resilience and robustness of process. As I think all of the previous members will remember very well, as a result of the committee looking at that, it was agreed to recommend that the council paused the review methodology of the LDP, which was being under review at the time, and that all members were invited to an extraordinary meeting of the council to consider options with regard to the methodology used and to consider a partial review of the LDP rather than a full change to the council's current strategy. As a result of that, the council accepted the committee's recommendation and set up a working group to deal with this. The next thing was a notice of motion relating to a successful planning appeal and award of costs against the council at a Burnham-on-Crouch site. Added to that scrutiny item, there was a reference from the July 2022 meeting of the council. This rose from another appeal decision and an award of costs in relation to a site at Burnham-on-Crouch. The council having emphasised the need for more objective and evidence-based decision-making in the future, and so we looked at planning decision-making. We agreed the following as a committee to recommend to council, and that was a review and refresh of the planning appeals protocol, which has still got to happen, views and conclusions on member training, limited to concentrating on bespoke and specialised training, and review and improvement of officer reports. The council at its meeting in February 2023 accepted the committee's recommendation on that. And planning enforcement is another item that's been referred to us, and processes. Very quickly to say, and this is quite important, at the March meeting of the committee, a further report on progress was received, and it was agreed that this should be added to the scrutiny work plan with a focus on policy review, staffing resource and other ongoing performance review issues. I think it's really important to emphasise now that I really hope that when the committee is reconvened with new members, that really is looked at and taken forward as a scrutiny item, because we were making real progress, I think, on that. Staff exit questionnaires, that was a reference from PG&A, Performance Governance and Audit Committee, in September 2022 even, and the committee adopted that to add to its scrutiny work plan item, and that's going to continue forward as well. We looked at the cyber security update, is all I'm going to say about that one here. Then there was a further one which we looked at with regard to a potential councillor conduct issue, which again was resolved that should be taken no further in terms of the scrutiny as a scrutiny item. And very lastly here, safeguarding of children and vulnerable adults. a corporate risk update on that. That was referred to us because of the risk identified in the audit report, and that's an ongoing work, and we're hoping, well, not hoping, it's got to happen. In the light of information received as to work in progress, the committee agreed to review the matter before the end of September 2023. And I just want to quickly say and thank other members of the working group for that committee, which we did meet quite regularly this year, and we did have quite a heavy workload. And I want to thank Councillor Vanessa Bell for a membership of that, as well as Councillor Hubner, who of course isn't with us now, and Councillor Helm. And just to say that I really hope that scrutiny is taken seriously going forward, because it's much more important than I think sometimes, you know, it's been judged to be. So a recommendation that I have here, please, is that I would like to move that the annual report of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee for 2022 to 23 is accepted by members. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Bell. Councillor Bell, seconded. Again, members, we agree to the recommendation that I sent. Thank you very much. And thank you, Councillor Spenceley, for all of the hard work, the diligence, and thank you to all members of the working groups who have here and past, who have put so much in, so much passion and commitment to help improve our processes. Thank you very much. That's moved. So we move on to agenda item 21, which is found on pages 43 to 46. This is a review of members' special responsibility allowances, again, page 43 to 46. This is going to be presented by Mrs. Carney via Teams remotely.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of this report is to present the recommendations of the Independent Remuneration Panel on Special Responsibility Allowances, known as SRAs. Local authorities are required by the Local Authorities Members' Allowance Regulations of 2003 to establish and maintain an independent remuneration panel to make recommendations on the levels of basic and special responsibility allowances that are paid to councillors. The panel must meet every 4 years, but can be convened more regularly to review any allowance if requested. At the council meeting held on 15th December 2022, members asked that the current SRAs be reviewed by the panel to ensure that they are fairly applied and consistent with other authorities. Benchmarking data was collated for use by the panel, along with details of the frequency of meetings and responsibilities that attract the SRA payments in Maldon. The panel met on the 17th February 2023 and reviewed this data. The report is attached at Appendix 1. The panel was of the opinion that overall, subject to 2 recommendations, the SRAs currently paid to elected members are being fairly applied and are consistent with other local authorities. The 2 recommendations were that the role of the District Planning Committee Chairman be awarded an SRA at 37.5%, as the role is currently not receiving an SRA, and that the SRA currently paid to the role of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee Chairman be amended to 37.5% to reflect the infrequency of meetings and the workload. The Council is asked to consider these recommendations.
Thank you, Mrs. Cardy. That's very kind. Councillor Stamp, I believe you wish to speak.
I do, Chairman. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mrs. Cardy, for that presentation. I'm afraid I don't agree that the overview and scrutiny should be reduced. In fact, I think it should be kept at what it is. I think Councillor Spenceley very eloquently said exactly all the hard work that was done, that was called in by a few members. And as the new members won't be aware, but the old members will, that I was chair of PG&A, and we really wanted to work more closely with our Overview and Scrutiny Committee, because that's how this council should really work, and they should be working together from committees, Chairman. And I actually do not agree with that, so I'd like to make an alternative proposal that it is kept the same, and I also, Chairman, would like to say that the District Planning Committee comes back under you as the Chairman of the Council and you chair it, so the remunerations would stay exactly the same, but you would have the added responsibility, which I think always happened before. I think ex-councillor Boyce would actually maybe support. Former councillor Boyce would agree with that. So I would like to say their amendments or alternatives, Chairman, whatever Mr Quelch allows me to do, because he's looking at me now.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stamp. I will refer to Mr Quelch.
We actually had a proposal put forward, so that will be the proposal, wouldn't it?
The proposal will be for those amendments.
Yeah.
Will they be amendments or will they be fresh recommendations?
Well, I don't think anyone has put forward a proposal, have they? So that is the proposal. Okay. But it sounds to me as if those are the only two changes, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it's that it remains as it is.
Yeah. So, thank you, Mr Quelch. So, Councillor Stamp, what Councillor Stamp has said, so really your proposals are saying it stays as what it is? The easiest way to say, because
I'm saying the allowance does, but the proportionality on who you award it to doesn't. So my motion or my amendment would be that we refuse your recommendations if it goes to vote, and that the District Planning Committee goes back under your remit, and over in Scrutiny stays exactly the same.
So that's the proposals. So they're individual. Yeah. So basically, he's leaving it as it is, because currently I'm the chair.
Oh, sorry, I do apologise.
Yeah.
Bit slow sometimes, Chairman. You should be used to that.
Okay. Yep. So, yeah. Thank you. So the proposal you put in there is basically keep the same arrangements that we have currently. Thank you. I've got everybody's name hand up. Councillor Siddle was next, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, we want to ensure that Overview and Scrutiny is a robust committee and is valued for the work that it does at this council. So therefore, I really don't understand why the Vice Chairman of that committee doesn't get an allowance. So I think that we need to, again, reflect the importance of that committee, and therefore, that the Vice Chairman of that committee should get 25% of the normal allowance of the Chairman of that committee. Because I know with Councillor Spenceley and also with Councillor Bell and things like that in the past, they have done a lot of work when they've been the Vice Chairman, and there is an allowance for that.
Thank you,
So I put forward that it's 25% of the Chairman of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Spenceley, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. It was an honour and a privilege to do it, but you're quite right, I didn't get anything for it. But anyway.
Councillor Spenceley, could I just interrupt, because I just asked it for a seconder for Councillor Stamps.
Okay.
My apologies. Councillor Fluker,
Okay.
thank you.
I'll wait to you. Can I carry on?
Sorry about that, Councillor Spenceley, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So what I wanted to say was that my concern with this, and actually that I didn't, because I haven't been here, I don't want to say that I haven't been here a long time, because I always get told off for that, but because I didn't know that the Chair could take over district planning, I was worried about the district planning element. But my concern with this was that overview and scrutiny could be, in a sense, thought of as less important than it is. And I have had a sense, in all honesty, that we need to be meeting more often. The workload needs to be a bit more intense. And so actually it would seem rather strange to be reducing the allowance when we should be perhaps stepping that committee up. And that's my feeling on that. So I'm minded to agree with Councillor Stamp's proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Spenceley. Councillor Thompson, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I've got slight issues in a couple of areas. One I note is that the Vice Chairman of the Council's special responsibility allowance appears to only be remaining at 10%, which, given that we have two main centres of population, two towns, and the Vice Chairman is often very busy, I'm not sure why the Vice Chairman of the Council would have a lower responsibility allowance than Vice Chairman of committees. I would like to suggest that could be 25%. The other thing, given that we don't even know who it is yet, the other thing I'm a bit concerned about district planning, and we might need Mr Quelch's help through you, please. My understanding is it's a committee of the council. It is not the council sitting as, which it used to be. And therefore, should it not be free to elect its own chairman rather than have one dictated to it? And from the chairman's point of view, the chairman of the council's point of view, they might find they're put in a very awkward position on occasions on account of, because district planning is regulatory, there might be some confusion between the chairman as the face of the district and the representative of the district and chairing a regulatory committee. And I'd be very grateful for some advice, please. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Go to you.
So the answer is, okay, there's a convention that is the chairman of the council, but doesn't have to be the chairman. Let me just check on that.
Yeah, we're just checking just a couple of points before we come back on that, Councillor Thompson.
Just want to check on,
Because it always was when I first arrived.
yeah, I just want to check. Constitution. I want to check the terms of reference for the district planning committee. District planning. Terms of reference.
Just so new members know, we're just checking to terms of reference to be able to give an informed answer.
Thank you. Do you want to just adjourn for 5 minutes and members can talk freely, they can stay in their seats, but it gives us a chance. Yeah.
Okay, members, what we've decided to do, we're going to have a 5-minute adjournment, and then we'll come back with the information. So I adjourn the meeting at 8:06 for 5 minutes. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Chairman. You're live. Just now announce the time and say we're now resuming the business. Thank you.
Certainly can. Okay, members and members of the public, thank you. We're just resuming the business at 8:17 p.m. Thanks to everybody for your patience and understanding. We just wanted to make sure that the information that we pass over is constitutionally correct. As regard to Councillor Stamp's proposal, which has been seconded, there's nothing in the Constitution that the chair of district, the chair of the council, it becomes the chair of district planning. It's an informal convention. That's just something that's been happening all the time. So it's not something that's written in the Constitution that has to maintain. It may or may not. So that would actually impact slightly on the wording of your motion, that we keep everything the same. That's where we are, but for the motion that Councillor Stamp has tabled, we need to vote on that. Is everybody clear on what the motion actually is? No. Okay. Tara Burner, sorry, did you catch what it was?
Well, my understanding was that we remain with the current structure of special responsibility allowances. That's it. That's good. Thank you.
So we need to go to that. Do you want to take the note? Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Chairman. I thought Councillor Siddle and I made amendments, and perhaps.
I wasn't seconded.
Yeah, that was.
Well,
the
I was
issue.
too slow. Sorry, I probably would have. Sorry, through you, Chairman. Was mine. I'm not sure if it was even requested, but anyway, we're in your hands, Chairman.
If you're going to make an amendment, so it's clear, then you can ask for a second.
Yeah, I think that all members need to make it clear that you're making an amendment, and so we can call for a seconder, so it's really clear and we don't get things missed. So thank you, Councillor Fluker. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I thought, Chairman, I'd just take this brief opportunity just to remind members and the new members how this report came. The reason why this report's here, Chairman, is when we were talking about the members' basic allowance, and there was a long and protracted debate in here whether or not to increase it, Chairman, and I can remember saying, look, this council financially is in a very difficult position. I don't think it looks good if we increase the members' allowance. And since then, Chairman, I've actually said that any increase that I receive to the basic allowance, I'll donate to charities and community groups in Southminster. But the reason why, Chairman, the reason why I was concerned about this, and I'm disappointed that the remuneration panel didn't pick up on this, because I had been promised that they would contact me because I felt so concerned about certain areas. And one of the areas that I was concerned about, Chairman, is the vice chairman's allowance of the main committees. Chairman, the vice chairman of one of the main committees gets an additional £1,200 a year. So generally speaking, there's six meetings, so that's £200 a meeting. And then I think if you look at each meeting with the, if you allow a couple of hours from the agenda meeting, which I doubt it is, and 2 or 3 hours for the main meeting, which they tend not to be, it sort of equates to about £40 an hour. It's quite a lot, bearing in mind the people that voted for these increases won't even pay the nurses a proper wage. So, Chairman, that was where this was all about, to make sure it was good value. And of course, one of the chairmen only managed to make it to 3 meetings, Chairman, so he was actually earning £400 a meeting, which I find that's very difficult to explain to the public, bearing in mind the austere times we live in, Chairman, and the cost of living crisis. I mean, I think £400 a meeting is a lot of money. And I'm disappointed, Chairman, that they didn't pick up on that, and I'm equally disappointed that they didn't speak to me. Tonight, Chairman, we seem to be spending even more money. You know, we're already in deficit, and this is just adding to it. So I think, Chairman, you know, moving forward through this administration, we should be very, very careful that whenever we spend money, we are always thinking about balancing our books. And to that end, Chairman, I would propose that we don't increase we revert the members' basic allowance to back where it was. I mean, I know this causes a constitutional crisis, Mr. Quelch, because Council has made a decision But Chairman, if we were to revert back, I've not done the figures, but I think that would certainly cover all these additional expenses tonight. And I think it would, you know, I think it would show to the public that we're actually trying to close these budget deficit, and then we're not spending money on ourselves. So I'm sorry to put you in that quandary, and I'll leave Mr. Quelch to answer that question.
Well, I think first of all we've got a motion already we need to deal with, but also the change of the basic allowance is a different subject to this report, which is to deal with special SRAs. And I think Adrian would need to put a notice of motion in, not just, in a sense, he's coming in on the back of this.
This is SRA.
Yeah, this is SRA, it's not basic allowances.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you.
He can do it, he can put a notice of motion in.
Yeah. I think, thank you, Councillor Fluker. It's always very informative when you speak. This report is for basic SRAs, and I think we're talking about basic allowances, which is a different matter. So I think for this evening we do have a recommendation on the table which has been seconded, but before I move that, I'm just going to move to Councillor Durham, who had his hand up earlier. Thank you.
Chairman, I just really wanted to raise the question that Councillor Stamp did about the importance of the role of the Chairman of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, because I think scrutiny is being undervalued and it is absolutely crucial. I can only just highlight that at the County Council there are 4 scrutiny committees, and the actual special responsibility allowance for Chairman of the Scrutiny Committee is the highest, all but the leader and deputy leader. It's considerably higher than the deputy cabinet members, who are equivalent of the committee chairs. So, you know, it would be, if it was equivalent, it would be actually about 150% for a scrutiny chairman.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Durham. Councillor Bell, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm disappointed that Councillor Fluker doesn't want to include ordinary working people on this council. I know I'm not the only councillor that actually had to give up paid work in order to give this role my full attention and the attention that it deserves. All very well and good if you can afford it, but if you can't, should you be excluded from sitting on the council because you can't afford to put food on the table? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Bell. Well, we do have the motion on the table which has been seconded, and basically I'll just present that I was the Chair of District Planning and received no additional payments, nor did I seek it. I have a personal view. If that's the driver, then you need to look at yourself there, but that's my personal view. So we do have that recommendation, motion by Councillor Stamp that the roles and remunerations at this moment in time remain the same. That has been seconded. I'd like to put that to the vote, members. So if I could have a show of hands for Councillor Stamp's motion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 24. Those against? 1 against. Any abstentions, please? Can you pop your hands a little bit higher because I've got dodgy eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 against. Thank you. So that motion is carried. Sorry, 1 abstained. Sorry, Councillor. So that motion passes. So thank you very much indeed, Councillor Stamp. Members, we move on to item number 21, rather quicker than I was expecting, and this is business by any reason of special circumstances considered by the chairman to be urgent. Councillor Durham, you wish to speak?
Yeah, Chairman, just very quickly, and it's not relating to this. Having looked up at the board of past chairmen, and to see that in 1981 to 83 it was Mrs. Patricia Herman, whose picture is up there, the 5th from the left at the top, and I happened to see her, and only Mr. Holmes probably will remember Mrs. Herman, a very redoubtable character. She looks exactly the same as she does there, albeit grey, is 96 years old and is still bright as a button. And I just thought, for the interest of members, it would be nice to know that she's still going strong. And my predecessor, unfortunately, Councillor Mrs Young, although still alive, is in a home with dementia. But as I said, Councillor Mrs Herman, who would be one of our oldest serving living members, is as sprightly as she ever was. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed for informing us of that. The urgent business, there is none. So members, I now come to the closure of the meeting. Members, thank you for your contributions this evening. I now close this meeting at 8:27 p.m. The meeting is now closed. Members are advised not to advise into any